This is your place for all things Grand Rapids Griffins and all things Toledo Walleye. This is the Hockeytown West podcast with your host, Brandon Cook, Nick Harrington, and Travis Foch.
Well, boys, it's a shame that Kansas City let them win 2 in their barn, isn't it? It's a shame they let them win 2 on the road, man. The Walleye are moving on to the final. Let's go. Trav, I know we're both excited, but you've got to be on cloud 9 right now, man.
Yeah, it was a pretty surreal moment last night, sitting there watching that. I mean, we weren't even in the seats. We were down in the little corner as the last minute went down, and Nick Gulch comes over and gives us a hug, and we're standing there like 3 little kids jumping in a circle. It was just it was pretty cool for them to do it on home ice. Has been pretty cool. The last 2 times that they've done it, they were in Tulsa and then in Utah. So to see it at home was pretty cool. And if the next celebration's at home, I can only imagine.
I think if it's on the road or at home, the celebration at home either way is going to be insane.
I was literally imagining this on the way home. I'm like, Travis is going to probably cry if they win this on home ice. Just first year on the pod, full season, first year media side, being down there with the boys. I can only imagine. This has been your team for how many years?
About 29. Well, I mean, I've gone to games since I was a kid, so.
To see your childhood team, win the cup on home ice. And covering them, being out there, I'm just Travis is going to be he might pee himself. We might have to bring extra pants.
I said, it is funny because me and Brandon were standing there and when it hit 000, we were standing there. I'm like, we got credentialed this year by both teams and one of them's in the final. This is insane.
It's an unreal thing to think that we're going to be covering hockey in June, boys.
Real
games. A beautiful thing. Real games. It's insane. Oh, well, welcome back to the Hockeytown West podcast, your source for everything Grand Rapids Griffins and Toledo Walleye hockey. I should really flip that until the final's done, There's one more important team right now. The Griffins are golfing and the Walleye are going to play for a cup. It's a great thing. But I'm one of your hosts, Brandon.
I'm Nick.
And I'm Travis.
And if you're tuning into this one, this is going to be a recap of the Western Conference Finals with the Toledo Walleye took on the Kansas City Mavericks. And as we've already alluded to, beat them in 5 games, moving on to the Kelly Cup Final. We're going to break down everything that happened in this round and kind of talk through it. This won't be a super lengthy episode because we don't know who their opponent's going to be next. So we're going to recap this, look forward to a Kelly Cup Finals preview episode once we find out who the opponent's going to be. It's either Three Rivers or the Florida Everblades. Three Rivers is up in that series right now, 3-2, heading back to Florida for the next game at the time of recording this. So we'll see what happens there. Best case scenario, that goes 7 games, and one of those 2 teams is going to have to come in, refresh off a play-in, and face a team that got some much-needed rest. So I'm excited to see what the opportunity is going to be. Both opponents are exciting opponents to talk about when we get to that point, but I think we know who we want. I think the revenge tour has got to be complete. But let's talk about this Kansas City series. And Travis, I'm just going to pass it to you, man. Just overall initial thoughts on this series before we kind of go game by game here.
I said 5 games, so it was kind of just crazy that came to fruition. But I think the biggest thing is just they didn't fall behind in the series. They got out in front, and they didn't look back. I mean, yeah, they dropped game 3, but ultimately, Pat said, they spent too much time maybe feeling out Kansas City last year, and now this year they just got out in front and basically controlled what felt like the whole series outside of the one game.
Yeah, I would agree with that. We talked about, having to face that adversity last round against Fort Wayne and how important that was, and it really showed what they learned from that opportunity in that series and what they could take into this one. So I think at the end of the day, those couple rough Fort Wayne games really paid off for this team. And, we looked at some of the guys after the game, and you wouldn't think they just won a Western Conference championship. You think they just won a hockey game. And that kind of just tells you the mentality of this group, that they know work's not finished. They're happy winning this for sure, but there's something much bigger that they're going after. And that's a really nice thing to see as a fan of this team.
Yeah, like you said, they were very happy, very excited, but at the same time, they know the job's not done. I think that was probably the biggest thing, and that stood out. And ultimately, they know that, okay, we still have 4 more to win. Like, I think before we even started talking to Bliss, I'm like, it's great, but 4 more. And he goes, you ain't kidding, 4 more.
Exactly. Well, let's talk about this kind of game by game here. Let's talk about game 1, because going into the series, we said with this starting in Kansas City, they just got to go win 1 there. And that's what they were able to accomplish in game 1. Travis, kind of walk me through that one.
It was a good game, and they played really well. That was probably the biggest thing. No scoring in the first 2 periods, and you get to the third, and you're like, it kind of felt like whoever was going to score first was going to win the game. And then Anderson gets free a little bit, makes a shot, save by LaFontaine, and picks up a rebound, and just had basically LaFontaine was down and out, and he had a wide open net. He just had to elevate and did a great job and gave him the lead. And then the Cole Gallant goal, I mean, that was just nuts, man. It was like 23 seconds later, the puck's going up the boards, and he just chips it by the guy and has a breakaway and beats him. And seemed like that was the only goal that beat him glove side the whole series. But you're not gonna take the that as a negative. You'll take that as a positive, because it was a big goal at that point in the game, and obviously for Bednar to go out and get a shutout, and they played great defense. I thought it was just a great game, great road game.
Yeah, it's the perfect road game in the playoffs. You get a shutout, nice 2-goal win there, and you set the tone for the series there. Yes, it was tight in those first 2 periods, but to be able to come out and be resilient in the third and get the results they got, it's fantastic. And let's just talk about Bedsy's performance in the game overall. Was he tested a ton in this one? Yes and no, but at the same time, to pull a shutout out in game 1 in the conference finals, immediate confidence booster to ride through the rest of the round.
It reminded me of when they beat Florida 1-0 in March. It was like Bedsy had the shutout in that game and made some huge saves when he needed to, and it was the same thing there. And it's like, okay, he outdueled Johnson in Florida, and now he's playing the other maybe top goaltender in the league for the last 2 years. So it was huge for him, and you just have to feel great when you go in there and outduel a guy like that in their building. And it was just one of those nights where he was feeling it, and you just felt like nothing was getting by him.
Yeah, it's the confidence that he's showing in net in these big games lately is just unreal. Then you go to game 2, and you steal another one in their barn, man. That's all you could ask for when you start the series on the road like that.
Yeah, and the big thing, too, is they got the lead real early with Lewandowski picking up a rebound goal, and then Smerek from the point, the puck looked like it had eyes and got through it, because his goal, he just kind of threw it towards the net, and it ended up in the net. So that was a huge thing to get the 2-0 lead. But credit to Kansas City, they came back, they got 2 quick ones and tied it. And Smerek, again, another great play, finding Bliss to spring him kind of free, and he beats LaFontaine, and that's probably one LaFontaine wants back, looking back at it, because it was kind of from, not the best angle to give up a goal, I would say. But you're just happy that, they didn't let the momentum snowball, because it could have very easily just kept going for Kansas City. And the guys that have played a lot of games in this league over the last few years really stepped up, like Smerek, Bliss. I mean, both of them guys have played a lot of games the last few years. So to have a play from those 2 guys just spin the momentum right back around was huge. They take a penalty late in the first, and then they give up a goal early in the second, and it was just kind of okay, it's 3-3. I think if you told everybody that you're going to be 3-3 early second period in a series which you're up 1-0 and you're on the road, in game 2 you'd be happy. And they get through the second with no goals against or for. It was a pretty quiet second period. I mean, both teams had looks, just nobody could score. And then the big goal in the third period with Colby Ambrosio from the top of the circle, just an absolute cannon. And once they got that goal, it was okay, now we're ready to go close this out. But then the celebration by Ambrosio was
Perfect.
He gets along the glass and just takes a bow right in front of the crowd.
Well, there was definitely a KC fan giving him the finger, and he decided to bow at that fan. I was like, man, the confidence of a rookie right now. This is insane.
It was nuts. I was like, he just did that. Like, and there was an unfair amount of flack being thrown towards Carter. And I wasn't having it because if you look at 2 of their 3 goals, they were cross-ice plays, and that's tough on any goaltender. So
yeah, that's the cheat code in NHL 25, man.
Yeah, like, come on. If you can't see that was not his fault by any means, like, that was the only thing that made me irritated, is that people were throwing him shade so early in that game, and I'm like, what are we doing? Like, why? He's playing fine.
Yeah, both goalies have been playing fine, and you can't do much on the cross crease pass. You really can't. It's gonna go in, or you're gonna have this 10-bell save that blows everybody's mind. There's no in between with that play.
I mean, that's how they scored a lot of their goals.
It really is. You shut down the cross crease against Kansas City, and you were having a good time.
Yeah, and especially on the penalty kill. Like, and this was kind of a trend that started in game 2, and then it really rolled into game 3. Is they spent way too much time in the box, and they paid like dearly. They gave up quite a few power play goals in the second and third game, and they would get the puck and they'd work it out to the defenseman, and they'd work it back down the umbrella, and as soon as it got to the guy on the goal line, it was straight across the crease. Like, it was going straight across the crease, and if the guy in front of the net got a stick on it, great. And if it didn't, there's a guy on the other side, back door, just waiting. And that's how they scored a couple goals. One was from the face-off dot, one was a little lower, so it was just like you could see a trend. And they scored twice that way in game 2, and it was just like, okay, we got to figure this out. And the biggest thing was just stay out of the box, which going into game 3 they didn't do. But either way, to go out there and steal both games, that was best case scenario by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah, because at one point there, I'm sitting there going, am I going to get to see a game this round? Because the weekday games for 3 and 4, I was like, I can't make because of my day job. Like, are they going to go through and just roll right through this? And game 3 came around and showed me that at least I was going to get to see him play once in person this round, because game 3 was ugly.
It wasn't pretty.
Yeah. But you're allowed to have a game like this in a round if you know how to bounce back. Like, you look, there was one in the Fort Wayne series, and they bounced back fantastic from it. Same in this round.
I think the most frustrating part is they started out fast. They had a great start. The first 5 minutes was great, and they just couldn't get on the board. I think if they would have scored first in that game, it's a different story. But then the penalties started. And yeah, there was a couple that were bad, but at the same bad calls. And I'm not one to normally complain about the officiating. I think
that's my job.
Most of the time they're maybe not perfect, but they're not so bad that the fans will freak out. And it's okay, take a step back. And if that was on Toledo, if that's the other way around, you'd be pissed. But I think the biggest thing is, like Pat said after the game, we got to take good penalties, penalties that are going to take away goals. And what was happening in the second and third game is it felt like when they took penalties, they were giving up goals on the power play. So you're not taking away goals by taking them, and then you're giving up goals on the penalty kill, which was an Achilles heel for about 2 games.
Yeah, I mean, if it's only for 2 games, though, it's not the end of the world, right?
Well, they still took quite a few penalties in the rest of the series, but their penalty kill made some big adjustments that you could see in game 4. But to go back to game 3, I think what really stood out, right? No scoring in the first, and then KC gets 2 second period goals, and they get one early in the third, and you're like, it's not really our night. And then they made it 4-0 early in the third, and it was just okay, not our night. But then we get one to make it 4-1. You're like, okay, well, there's some bright light. Then they give up another goal. So it's just like, okay, this sucks. This clearly just is not the game they're going to win. And they get a power play late and they scored on it. And Hawkins even said after the game, like, we got one to go in on the power play. And I think that's just huge. And it gave them a little bit of momentum going into game 4, despite getting, blown out at home. It's not the way you wanted to come home and play, but they at least had a little bit of momentum going into this game. And the thing that, hurt them too, well, it didn't really hurt them, but it's a big loss, is they lost Lewandowski in game 2. So,
yeah.
And credit to him, and he came in and played phenomenal, I thought he played really big minutes. Maybe not, you're not expecting to maybe have to go to him. Like, obviously you want everybody to be healthy, but a credit to him for coming in and playing so many minutes. And I thought he tried to fight somebody in that game. Like, it's a rookie going out there trying to fight somebody. So
he came in and did it all, man.
Yeah.
That's exactly what all you could ask for.
They've talked next man up all year, and despite losing the game like this at home, there were a few bright spots.
Yeah, which is always good to be able to take away a bright spot or two from a loss like that. It just shows you that they're not rattled. They know what they've got to go out there and do the next game. Kind of wanted to burn the tapes, maybe after you learn a couple things from it and go on to the next one.
The one thing too to notice is that they were 1 for 11 on the power play up until then, or 0 for 11.
Yeah,
0 for 10.
And if you go back to the Fort Wayne series, they struggled with Fort Wayne, and it's tough. You can tell that teams are being maybe a little more aggressive than they were in the regular season. I think that's one thing that's kind of maybe got them to scramble a little bit, but I think that's my biggest thing that I noticed. Yeah, it's not good that you're kind of trending towards the Griffins power play there for a series and a half.
God, don't remind me.
Yeah, hopefully Steph's not down there trying to incorporate his power play system down there, because that game 1 it was 0 for 1, which whatever, you don't have a whole lot of opportunities, you don't have a lot of chances. Game 2 0 for 4, and then you go 1 for 6 in that game 3. So it's not looking pretty at that point in time. So it's just like makes me a little concerned. Even their like special teams, like penalty kill, they couldn't get anything going either. But if you look at game 1, they were 0 for 3. Kansas City went 0 for 3, the 2 for 2, and then 3 for 7.
Yeah.
Special teams was big. Luckily they didn't have to rely on it, and the 5-on-5 was so good. That was one thing Pat did say during post game, is our 5-on-5 play is fantastic, which it had to be when you're not clicking on the power play, and the penalty kill is not doing too great either.
Well, last night they were perfect on the penalty kill, and I'm pretty sure I'd have to look back. Maybe you got that right there. I think they were
perfect on the penalty kill, and 1 for 3 on the power play in the last game there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they made an adjust. Clearly they made some adjustments. You could see it in game 4 as well. Like, they started to take away that when it came down, they would shift guys to where, like, your defenseman kind of pushed out, and then your back box slid down, and the guy that was up top kind of slid to the middle. And they just took away lanes better in the last 2 games of the series, which I thought was a huge difference maker. And yeah, they're probably gonna have to figure out the power play. They're gonna have to maybe get a little bit more consistent. Never thought I'd say that, but it's just part of it, right? Like, you go through ebbs and flows, and when you're the top team all year, like they were, and then you're clicking through 2.5 playoff series, like, eventually you're going to get stifled, and it's just not letting it snowball for too long. And like you said, thankfully their 5-on-5 play was so great that offensively they were scoring there to make up for not scoring on the power play.
I try to see what their power play even is for the playoffs right now, but the ECHL stats is not the greatest place to find, which is odd.
It was, like, Travis, I'm glad you pointed out the adjustments in real time, because watching it as we kind of skip ahead a little and just talk about, game 5, watching that adjustment to shut down that cross crease, especially those battles around the front of the net there. Those guys were going to war with each other in front of the goaltender, between Kansas City players and Walleye players trying to clear that space and Walleye players trying to get them out of there. It was absolute war. And I can remember one sequence on a KC power play where there's a battle in front of the net. Both those players go down. There's battles at both circles. Both those guys go down. And you've got 6 guys total on the ice down between the two teams because they just battled it out like that, shutting down that cross crease, shutting down that lane. And it completely threw Kansas City for a loop. They didn't know what to do once they lost that, those opportunities down low. So credit to them for identifying and adjusting and shutting down those concerns. Because, yeah, there was concerns there for a couple of games. But then you watch the last 2 and you're like, okay, they clearly know what they're doing.
Absolutely.
So I think at this point, it's a good time to hit a quick ad break. When we come back, recap the rest of these games here. And, of course, just our overall thoughts again on the series. Who stood out the most to us? I know we said in the preview episode who would be our shining stars. Kind of go back to that and see if we were right, see if we were wrong. And then we'll wrap this episode up. So quick ad break first.
This NHL season has been as predictable as a puck rolling on its edge. No one knows where it's going, but that just means there's time for your favorite team to figure things out. A game's left for you to get in the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. It's super easy for first-timers to get started. Try betting on something simple like picking a team to win. Go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app, select your team, and place your first bet. And if you're new to DraftKings, listen up. New customers bet $5 to get $150 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code THPN. That's code THPN for new customers to get $150 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/ice.
And welcome back. All right, let's talk about Game 4 and Game 5 here, because obviously we were looking for the response in Game 4, right? Game 3, you're at home and it does not go your way at all. What's that response going to be? And oh boy, was it a response?
Yeah, it was. They came back. They came ready to play. After talking to Keenan after Game 3, he's like, I got all the confidence in the world in that locker room and what's in there and what we'll be able to do. And it was a fairly quiet first period scoring wise. Again, Toledo back in the penalty box. Like we had a penalty and then a double minor, and they killed it all off. And you're like, okay, that's huge to get through that and just get out of that first period at zeros. Because with how the last 2 games have went on the penalty kill, like it was like, okay, can we just? But when I seen the double minor, I was like, okay, if we get out of this just 1-0, like. That's a good thing, but if you get out of it 0-0, that's even better. Like, and they killed it all off. And this is where, again, you started to see that adjustments. They made those right adjustments kind of to take away lanes, kind of collapse, be more aggressive in certain aspects. I noticed too, like whenever the puck was like maybe along the wall or Kansas City would turn their back towards the play, guy was straight to him. Like, it was get pressure on him and try to create something to where you just get the turnover. And I think they did a great job in this game of just killing off the penalties again. But then in the second period, you get Swoyer scoring from distance, and they got the first goal. And again, you get the lead. And that was huge. Another shot, like, again, like this is a guy, defenseman with like 6 or 7 goals now in this playoff. So it's just like, holy cow, like the scoring's from everywhere. And that was huge. And then not many, I think it was like 5 minutes later, they spring Keenan on a partial breakaway from like basically the top of the circles. Yeah. So like from the blue line, and he gets the puck at the hash marks and makes a great move.
And the Selly. And the Selly.
Well,
so
I mean,
good.
Let's talk about him, right? Like he was hurt what felt like most of the season. Doesn't have, it's the scoring touch that he had all of last year. I mean, it's obvious if you go and look at his point totals. And again, like that's a huge goal for him and the team. Like he's one of your leadership core. He's been hurt all year, and to bounce back and have a goal like that at this point in the season. And it felt like, like that was a monumental goal in the series. Like it kind of felt like if they were gonna just kind of take over this series, it was gonna be if they could get another goal in that series after Sawyer gave them the lead, and to do it like that was huge. And then Andrews takes an unfortunate penalty, and this happens coming out of the penalty box. I was just
unreal.
Like, yeah.
First pro goal. First
yeah.
of all. Congrats, Nick Andrews. What a freaking goal. What a way to do it.
Perfect shot too, blocker. And like LaFontaine didn't even move. He was just
he froze him.
Well, and he didn't really do anything to freeze him. He just shot it past him. It's just like, I think maybe after the Keenan move, he was kind of expecting a move maybe. So maybe the shot surprised him. But again, great shot. Young player, signed late in the season and optioned down here. And it was just like, you just felt at that point, it's like, all right, we got this game. Like, this was kind of like the game to where it's like, okay, we're back on track. We've reestablished ourselves. And then in the third period, they get a power play goal. Great pass from Hawk and a great tip by Bliss right the side of the net. And it's kind of funny because former Walleye player is on Kansas City's team, and Marcus Crawford. And Bliss tips that goal in and turns around and skated straight to him. Like, he was like, what? What are you going to do about it? It's 4-0. Like, so credit to him for, like, you know, getting an insurance goal, but then also like going right back at the guy. Like, okay, you know, like, we're just going to beat you. And that was like a much needed power play goal. Like we've kind of gone into, they were a little quiet there for a little while. Kansas City eventually gets one back, and that was it, right? It was late in the game, and you're hoping Carter gets the shutout. Like, there was only a few minutes left. They pulled the goalie. It was like 4 minutes left and 3 minutes left, and they pulled the goalie and they scored. Another one of them cross ice plays and one-timer. But again, you know, like a huge response, right? They needed that. They needed to not lose game 4, I thought. I wasn't overly concerned, even if they just got one at home, with how well they've played on the road. Even if they went back out there, I thought I had all the confidence in the world in that team. But to get another win on home ice, and you get the opportunity to come in on a Saturday night in downtown Toledo and close out a team and punch your ticket to the Kelly Cup final, like, man, if they could have got game 4, that would have been huge. And to respond and go out and play the way they played, that was a huge win in game 4.
It also forced Kansas City to start not playing hockey. They tried to muck it up at the end of this, do some stupid stuff. And once you see a team get to that level of desperation when you're going up against them, you kind of just get that feeling like, all right, we've got them. We keep our heads cool. We play our game. We've got this. It's immediately that reassurance that you're going to be able to move on.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've seen it in game 5 too, like, especially with the fast start. Like, it felt like it was kind of over before it started.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. That leads us to game 5. Like you said, Saturday night in Toledo. I get to make the trip down, a sellout of 8,600 in the bank tank. And that atmosphere, man, we preach it all the time with this fan base. I've seen it now in 2 rounds of these playoffs this year, going into the third time seeing it. And it continues to blow my mind game after game after game. Because as soon as intro started, that place was rocking from start to finish. My watch went off at 105 decibels at some point during the game without the goal horn. That was just during a whistle. Like, you fans are incredible. I had so much fun witnessing this one in person. And getting to seal this one up on home ice was just such a cool experience to be a part of. It's been, God, since the Griffins went to the 17 final that I've seen a team clinch a trip to a final on home ice, which isn't that long ago. I know it's not a very common occurrence that you get to witness, but that was cool. No, this trumped that big time. This was way cooler. Everything from start to finish was an experience.
Well, it's funny because my buddy Brian, who sits behind me, he's like, you better tell Brandon this is just different down here than Grand Rapids. And I was like, no, 8,000 here is probably louder than 10,000 up there. And I think they know it. Like, I think they just know.
It's expected at this point, but at the same time, like, it just continues to blow our minds every time we experience it. Like, when you walk around downtown Grand Rapids, and this isn't a slight at Grand Rapids or Grand Rapids fans, but there's no bars with Griffins things hanging in the windows. There's no, you go into bars in Toledo, there's neon walleye signs. There's fans everywhere wearing the gear. I told you guys when I got down there, I didn't go out before the game or anything since I had to make the trip back the same night. And I just went and chilled by the river for a little bit since I got down there so early, just taking in the sunshine. A beautiful day in Toledo. And everywhere I looked, somewhere wearing a walleye hat, a walleye shirt, a walleye jersey. It's just everyone was so hyped for this game. And you could feel the energy in that building was different. It's just so different. It's so hard to explain. And I know final tickets are going to be hard to come by. If you haven't already tried to get them, you better be on top of it now. But at the same time, you gotta go. You have to do it. You got to experience this. It's something special.
It's funny that we're talking about this already, and we haven't even broke down Game 5.
I know, man.
But
that place was electric before the game even started.
Yeah, it was. And the early goal, I mean, really they got 2 early goals, but what a start, right? I mean, I said it in like 4 different post games. Like, what the hell was Matt Anderson doing at the opposing blue line when the puck's in front of your own net? And
yeah.
It was just one of them plays to where it's like, why is the defenseman the one sprung free on a breakaway when the puck's in front of your net? But Pat said it best. He's like, that's Matty. You know, he makes a read and he's gone. And he made a great read.
And what a great pass from Jalen, too.
Jalen had a huge night in this game. And really, he had a great conference finals and as a whole. It was just a great play, right? Like the stretch pass, the vision, great shot too. Like he wasn't screwing around. He's like, I'm just going to go down and bury this and get this building into it. And you're a minute and 33 seconds into the game. And the roof's about to explode off of the place already. And then they get the power play, you know, like a few minutes later. And again, another play where they got to the front of the net. They made life miserable for Kansas City, and Bliss makes a great redirection. But again, another great pass by Smerek. And it was just one of those nights to where the building was into it early. The boys were ready to go. And when you get the lead, it's infectious, right? Like you're like literally 4 minutes later, and all of a sudden you're now in an 0-2 hole.
Yeah, I mean, that chaos they caused in front of the net all night long, it had LaFontaine all over the place. Like, you know, we were joking before the game with your buddies there about shoot blocker side on this guy because his blocker's Swiss cheese at this point during this conference finals. But they did that and created pure chaos, and it paid off huge for him. And you're talking 5 minutes into this game where you're going to be able to send Kansas City packing and you're up 2-0. Come on.
Yeah, and you know, it was a credit to Kansas City as well. You kind of got to give them their flowers. They bounced back a little bit, getting one. But then again, it's Trenton Bliss. Like you need your top guys going, right? And we've talked about the depth scoring and how much it, you know, has helped carry them through certain points of this playoffs. But the top line, like the big boys got going. And this was a great play. Great pass by Hawk to Cruz and just a nice backdoor play. And it's just huge to get that lead back to 2 going into the first intermission. I think that's probably the biggest thing. And the building was rocking again. You're just feeling good going into the break up 2 versus up 1.
Yeah, and there's an important thing with this goal, too. For any kids looking at this, going to play hockey, you go to the net with your stick on the ground like that.
Yep.
Exactly what you need to do. We were preaching that all Griffin season long with the power play. Get the puck towards the net and have a guy there with a stick on the ground. And there's Trenton Bliss getting that pass from Cruz there. It's perfectly executed.
It was. And like you said, go to the net with your stick on the ice, and you can't score with it in the air most times. So, again, for Bliss to double dip in the first period, that's a huge momentum swing to get the 2-goal lead, like I've said, back into their favor going into the break. And the save by Bednar, where the puck was like flying back over his shoulder and he just like reached over and grabbed it. That was a huge point in this play.
You mean this save here?
Yeah, off the rebound and the puck's just like floating and he's like, nope, that's mine. So it's not like, I don't know, totally robbed somebody, like, because the puck's just floating. It's not like he windmilled it and that's a hell of a save, but like it's more of like a reactionary, not just like stone cold on a breakaway, like stones a guy. But a huge momentum swing because that, again, kept them in the lead by I believe it was 2 at that point. I'd have to go back and double check, but it may have been 1. But at the same time, just to make that play and keep yourself in the lead, that was huge. Quiet second period, scoring-wise.
Yeah.
The game
quiet
settled
second
down.
Period. It did. Toledo started playing heavy defense and just protect the lead, keep this going, and just play smart hockey. And that's exactly what they did in the second.
Yeah, they had some looks offensively too, but they just didn't convert. And again, now you're 20 minutes away from punching your ticket on home ice, and you're like, okay, let's just get through this third period. But it was, like I said to Pat, like it was a little eerie in the beginning of that third period because Kansas City came out and they came hard. And
yes, they did.
You knew they were going to come hard, and then they get the goal to make it, 3-2. And then Bednar makes that ungodly save. I forget if that was in the third or second. The emotions of the night just kept rolling. But the pad save where they took it across and he kept it out, like that's, again, like even if it was, I can't remember. So
it was in the third. You're right. It's in the third. It was after, I believe, they got back within 1.
I think it was. And like at that point, then it's a tie game and you got a brand new game. So that was an unbelievable save by him to keep that puck out. And then they ruled there was a hand pass in there too.
Yep.
But to make the first save before the hand pass, that was massive. And then late in the third, you get the insurance goal. You get Anders.
Before you get there was a key moment in the third where I felt like after this happened, we had the win, even though we were only winning by 1 at this point. It was that probably 2 minutes and 30 seconds of sustained pressure by Kansas City, where the defense just could not get the puck out, and eventually Bedsy's able to cover it, and the building blew up at that point when he finally got that puck covered.
Yeah, I said to Kelsey, I was like, they're going to tie this game. Like, you could just feel a goal coming. Like, it was one of them moments, like, if you've watched enough hockey in your life, like, it's only a matter of time. Like, I think it felt like 3 minutes of straight zone time. And they could not clear the puck.
Nerve-wracking.
It was. And their third line just got caught out there. And I think there was a broken stick even.
Yeah, I think Gallant's stick was broken.
Yeah, and that didn't help, right? Like, you're adding that to the chaos, and it was weird that they just shot the puck wide from the point like that. And I don't know if they were going for a redirection. It hit the back wall, and it went straight to Bednar. And he's like, "Nope, there's enough of this."
Yeah, they even rang one off the post in that sequence. Like, it was. Yeah. Everyone around me was shaking. Like, the girl next to me was just shaking after that whole sequence. It was so intense.
It was just survive, right? Like,
and they did. And that was the moment where I was like, if they can maintain some pressure after that sequence, we're good. If they can come out of this, win that face-off down there, get to the other end and get a shot on, we're good. We can come out of this still.
Well, and if you remember, right, actually, talking about that brings up another point that LaFontaine made a save, cross-ice play in front of the net, and, I mean, it was right on the doorstep, and he made a hell of a save. So he was keeping them in it at points in the third period, not as much as you'd like, but you just had 3 minutes of zone time, and then they make that save, and you're like, oh, this is going to be a long, 6 or 7 minutes left in the game, and it's like, oh, this is going to be a long night. And I don't know if it was right off of that face-off that they scored. It was
it was.
Long
so
after.
I got the goal here for you. Right off this face-off, and Matt Anderson just lets it go. And that puck had eyes.
Oh, yeah, had eyes. I don't think LaFontaine's seen it. And you can tell, like, he's sitting there like, where and how did it get by? And you got about 7:35 left, and you've now established a 2-goal lead again, and you're starting to feel really good about yourself. And it was just like, man, this is huge, right? Like, you get that goal, the building's now back in it. And it was funny because Matt Anderson said in the postgame, like, it was funny, like, because Keenan said to him, like, just get a shot on net. And then they end up scoring. So, huge.
Hey, good leaders make good suggestions, right?
Yeah. And, I mean, just a great all-around play by them to get that 2-goal lead back. And that's when I think it kind of felt like to the fan base, like, we got it. Like, we've got this. And then your buddy, like, our buddy, like, he doesn't miss a beat when you're in the building, man. And goal's a goal, empty net or not. Like, it was huge for Hawk to see one just go in, right? He hadn't scored a goal in quite a few games. Thought he made some big impacts elsewhere. He had a few huge back checks in this series. He picked up 3 assists in this game. Like, it felt like he got back on track. And he even said after game 3, like, I got to be a lot better. And you can tell he puts a lot of pressure on himself. And he's a hell of a player.
I've got to get better at 22 points so far in the playoffs. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's
like,
so humble. Like, that's
it's the kind of guys you want to have in your room, right? Like, and it's not just him. I think everybody's that way in that room. And
for those wondering the joke of, like, he always shows up when I'm in the building. I've never been to a Walleye game where Brendan Hawkins didn't score a goal. I don't know what it is. He called it out the first time, and I sat there and I was like, holy God, you're right. Because even the first ever game I went to, he scored. So yeah, I guess there's something to be said about that.
Well, in this series, he only had 1 point, and that was the last game he had an assist. So this game, like, it was a really coming out game for him, game 5, where he ended up getting the three assists and a goal. So
yeah.
Hey, we talked about it. Like, he's been quiet this series, and then finally just explodes.
Well, and that's kind of what you need, right? You need something good to happen, and you get 3 assists and a goal. It kind of like gets you back into the mojo vibe of like, all right, I'm good here. Don't got to worry about it. He went through a stretch this year too where he didn't score, and then he finally got one, and then they came in bunches, which is like, you're thinking ahead. It's like, okay, he got that. Like, he doesn't have to worry about it no more. So I think that's going to be a key element going into the final. Like, he had a huge night, and they needed that, right? They needed him to kind of have a big night. Their depth carried them along. They needed that top line to go. At some point, they needed the big guns to go, and they went. Like, they kind of carried them in this game. Like, Bliss with 2 goals, Hawkins a goal and 3 assists. Like, that was a first-line night. Granted, everybody was chipping in and doing things, but at some point, you need your big guns to take over, and that was the game they took over, which doesn't surprise me.
No, not at all. It doesn't surprise me. And then the result, is your Western Conference champions. Look at that group. It's a good-looking group right there.
Yeah, it's so cool that they got to do it at home, and it's a special thing. To be in the building and experience that it was very special. And again, like, I'm just gonna say, like, they were talking about it on the like Walleye post game, like how hard it is to even get to this point, no matter what happens in the final. Like, when we start that, to get to this point in the season is so incredibly hard. Like, and I feel like not enough people understand that. Like, to win one round in the playoffs is not an easy task. You have to beat the same team 4 times out of 7 games. Like, to do it once is huge. To do it 2 times is amazing. When you do it for a 3rd time, it's like, holy cow, you start to feel like this could happen. And then, like, you see, like, all the smiles on them guys' faces and how much, like, they've worked their tails off all year to get to this point, and they get to share it with their fans. Like, no, this is not over, and which you'll hear from us again in the middle of the week, probably about, what's at stake ahead. But in this moment, like, look at the guy in the white shirt. like right over the trophy. Like if you look in the dead middle of the screen, like that just shows you how much it means to not only the players but the fans. Like to see them clinch a spot at home, that's an incredible thing, right? And I think
it's you look at the reaction of the people, like you said, the reaction of the folks in the tunnel around us. You know, you had Walleye staff there jumping up and down, bouncing off the walls, off each other, hugging. I swear their admin was gonna shake out of her skin at that point. Literally her hands like this with how much excitement there was with it. I mean, this means a lot to everybody in the organization, not just the guys that lace up the skates and play on the ice. Everyone in this organization works so hard all year long to get to this point, and to be in the conference finals for as often as they have, and then to win it on home ice against the team that took you out last year. It's a darn good feeling, man.
Well, and everything's different this time. Like 19 was on the road, 22 was on the road, 25's at home. Maybe that's a great omen to have and take into the finals. Like it's just it was a special night. And
what did you text me before the game too? It was 6 years ago that date they punched their ticket.
Yeah, in Tulsa. It was 6 years ago that they punched their ticket to the final in 19. So it's a special day in Toledo hockey history if you think back to have it twice happen on the same day. So it's a huge achievement. Job's not done. The team, I think, knows that the job is not done. But just enjoy this next 2 weeks because we've been very fortunate that this will be our third time as fans in 6-7 years to get to try it. And you just have to enjoy this ride. Like you guys have been fortunate enough to see it twice recently up there.
Thank God, because we're not getting it over here. So,
well, no, I mean like with the Calder Cup, like you guys have got to witness it twice. Like that's a special thing. And if you get the opportunity, if they get the chance to do it, and they're gonna, this group's gonna lay their hearts out on the line for it.
But yeah, there's gonna be 0 ounces of energy left in any of their bodies after this series. It's gonna be give every ounce of everything they have to try to pull this off. And either way, you can't not look at this season and smile because there was so many doubters going into these playoffs that we'd even get through the first round.
Yeah.
And we're talking about a final.
I didn't know what to expect because it's so much different this year. They've went on 14 and 22 game win streaks the last 2 years going into the playoffs, and then you get bounced. And this year you won the division, right? Like you still win the division, but you're not like going into it on this crazy heater and you're like, I don't know what to expect. Like it just had such a different feel because they weren't absolutely just steamrolling teams into the playoffs like they had the last 2 years. And maybe that's what they needed, right? Like some adversity doesn't hurt. And they've really shut up a lot of doubters just to get to this point. And if they win 4 more games, there's going to be a lot of receipts.
Yep, I think I have a few bookmarked myself. I'm not petty, I promise. Oh, I'm excited, man. Like we've said over and over, we get to cover hockey in June. That's an exciting thing. I know you and I have already kind of been talking about the plans on the side of how often I'll be in the building, and there's some logistics to work out. We need to know who the opponent's going to be so we can finish planning all that out. But I mean,
gotta get Nick down here.
You got to get both of us
no more
down
excuses,
there.
Nick. It's the final.
No more.
I mean, I'm the only one that out of the 3 of us that can go to Canada, so
That's true.
It is true.
Yeah, so if they end up playing Three Rivers, Nick's going to be boots on the ground in Canada for us. Already committed.
Have fun with that drive. That's like a 14-hour drive.
I'm not driving. I'll be flying.
And I think Travis and I have already alluded, if it's a clinching scenario and they're playing Florida and they're in Florida, we're going to Florida.
I will fly down. I don't care.
I'll drive down. I don't care. We'll make it happen.
You know, it's fun. I just have to be home on June 13th for the Tigers game. I have tickets, and the last
We can
game
sell
of,
those.
no, I gotta go. I'm going with friends. I'll make it happen.
We're selling those.
No, I will figure out a way.
Next podcast giveaway. You get to go with Travis's friends at the Tigers game.
But you know what? Like, again, we don't know yet, and it'll be a great matchup and a tough opponent. So it'll be fun. We'll get into that sometime this week with the preview for everybody. Just enjoy this next 2 weeks because it's going to be a great 2 weeks. And I think back to when Florida clinched in 2 years ago when they went to play Vegas, and like they were sitting in the locker room, and like the NHL films like had Paul Maurice, and they were like, they're sitting there looking at like the East final trophy, and he's like, guys, this is going to be the most special 2 weeks of your entire life, basically. Like how special this is, like enjoy it. And that's something that's always kind of stuck with me the last couple of years. Like when you get these opportunities to just enjoy every single second of it.
Oh, 100%. I'm going to enjoy it. I know the guys are going to enjoy it. Like we alluded to earlier in the episode, it felt like the energy was just after any other win. They're not satisfied with this win. They know what they want to go out there and really win, and that's when you'll see the true emotion come out when they pull that off. I refuse to ever say if in this scenario. I'm just going to keep saying when, because I won't put negativity out there around it. This is a when they win it, and it's going to be a party, and we are going to be down there and partying with all you wonderful fans. And trust me, we know how to party as well. So we're looking forward to it. I don't think I have anything else to say in this one, though, besides just, like we said, enjoy this. Enjoy the moments. It's going to be fun. That ride home last night was dreadful because it's a 2.5 hour drive for me, but man, was it fun still. I wouldn't do it, or I wouldn't look back and regret that decision to come down and do a day trip like that ever again. It's special, man. So I'm excited. Look forward to doing a final preview with you guys and kind of talk through what that's going to look like once we know. So as soon as that series between Three Rivers and Florida wraps up, we'll get that recorded and out to you wonderful people. We know we still haven't done a Griffins recap yet. We kind of already alluded to that we'd be 100% focused on Toledo until they were done, and we've still got work to do with them. So that'll all come down the road here. Keep an eye out, though, if you're looking for more Griffins talk. The guys just recently did a feature with the Hockeytown Rundown boys, and they talked Griffins hockey with them recently on one of their more recent episodes, and I believe will be guests on another podcast here coming up as well to talk Griffins hockey. So we might not be talking Griffins on this show, but we're still getting out there talking about them elsewhere. And like I said, our recap of their season, it will come, but we're going to go enjoy this while we've got it right now. And I think all you fans understand why we're doing that. This team deserves the focus and attention that we're giving them. And if you're a Red Wings fan and still looking for something, the Stanley Cup playoffs aren't really doing it for you. Just get Flow for 1 month, man. You do a 1 month subscription to watch this final breakdown. It's going to be worth it. It's got to be worth it. With that, we'll wrap up the episode, though. Thank you all for tuning in. As always, we got to thank the sponsors of the show, DraftKings and Everything Hockey Clothing Company. Make sure when you're betting with DraftKings, you use code THPN. And when you're shopping at everythinghockey.com, you use code WEST. It saves a few bucks off your order and also helps support the show. And if you haven't yet, go and check out us on Patreon over at patreon.com/HockeytownWest podcast. Check out the tiers we have there. We do bonus episodes, unedited episodes over there, and all sorts of other content. I'm sure we'll do some fun bonus and extra content with this final as well, too. You know, sometimes our cameras are rolling down there, and maybe we don't want to post everything on our social medias because we post a lot of stuff there, but we'll post some of the extras there so you guys can see all the fun stuff that we get to see while we're there. If you want to join those Patreon people, like I said, patreon.com/HockeytownWest podcast. And the people that are currently subscribing to us over there are...
We've got Randy Zick, Alan Foch, Derek Sleezer, Elaine Grace, Griffin, John in Florida, Lori, Michael Asante, Tyler Ingalls, and Claire Boughton.
Thank you all for the love and support. We appreciate you guys so much. And like we said, even when the off season comes around for both teams, we'll still be posting over there, doing extra stuff. Probably post some exclusive where we're not even talking about hockey. We'll talk about whatever you want. If you want us to talk about something, drop us a message over there and tell us what you want us to talk about. There's other sports that we like too. So we can talk about those. Hell, we'll talk about baseball with the way the Tigers have been playing this season. I'll talk about them all day. Good Lord. Well, all right, everyone. Enjoy this Walleye win. We'll see you in the finals preview. And until then, go Griffins, go Walleye.
Love you. Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to the Hockeytown West podcast. Be sure to check us out on Twitter at HockeytownWPod and your host, Nick at GR Hockey Guy and Brandon at BrandonGR Hockey.